2025 is not the year that we're going to pretend we don't care about appearance. I am all for body neutrality. I am all for setting goals around performance and not just appearance with fitness, but I am also going to keep it realistic. Okay, speaking from experience as someone who has lost over 20 pounds and kept that weight off, it is a lot easier to get motivated and cross that mental bridge once you are at least okay with the way that you look. Welcome back to the series where we are rebranding your routine to work smarter, not harder, so you can make your vision a reality. Over the course of this 4-part series, we are doing a deep dive into the science and experience-backed tips that are going to transform your workouts, nutrition, and mindset. In episode 1, we covered some of the mindset shifts you will need to make in order to get the most out of this series. This is episode 2. So today we are talking all things training, what it means to tone your body, how to build a foundation of fitness that makes you feel amazing, how to incorporate Pilates, running, all these things that are trending into your routine. And then we're actually getting into the specifics of how to craft your weekly routine when you're doing what training and the specifics of everything. On the note of transformation, a huge thank you to Armra for sponsoring today's episode. In case you have not seen the viral videos, Armra colostrum is quickly becoming the holy grail of whole body health. I was influenced to try this. I was influenced to do the dry scoop. I normally wouldn't until I learned that apparently dry scooping this can help to support your dental health as well as your oral microbiome. So fun fact, the more you know. But one of my goals for 2025 has been to improve my hair health. Basically, after a stressful few months toward the end of the year, after Black Friday, it just did not stop. My hair was thinning. My hair was thinning among other things. But I have been taking this and I feel like my ponytail has been looking fuller. I mean, we look very full right now because I have not styled my hair yet, but my ponytail has been feeling fuller. I've noticed less shedding in the shower. There are a whole host of science-backed benefits to Armra's colostrum. I'll list them on screen, from strengthened immunity to elevated mood, focus, energy. In case you haven't heard, colostrum is a dairy-based bioactive food made by all mammals. It is the first nutrition we receive in life that contains all of the vital nutrients that you need to thrive. I actually first heard of colostrum not in the context of cows, but when I was pregnant from my doula and we were learning about breastfeeding, and she referred to it as liquid gold because of how nutrient dense it is. Armra is a premium bovine colostrum concentrate that is ethically sourced and delivers over 400 bioactive nutrients in the purest, most bioavailable form, including a host of peptides, antibodies, whole food prebiotics, and antioxidants that act as the body's blueprint to strengthen your internal systems and support cellular regeneration. What makes Armra different is that they uphold cap-first sourcing. So what that means is that they will only collect from overflow supply. So once the calves have been fully fed, that is when they collect their colostrum. Armra is physician founded and the only colostrum on the market validated with dual-armed third-party clinical trial research. So if you'd like to try Armra for yourself, they have done a discount for our community where when you shop via my link, I'll put the link and code in the description box down below. You can save 15% off your first order. Starting with body composition and getting that toned look. The going advice in the fitness industry, and what I've even recommended historically, is to build muscle to add shape to your body, then to lose body fat to reveal the shape underneath, which is honestly still pretty effective. But in reality, body fat distribution, so where you store your body fat, is largely genetic, as is the shape and appearance of your muscle. So what this means for getting toned is that different amounts and ratios of body fat and muscle are going to look different on different people. For example, a woman with a smaller rib cage and proportionately wider hips who genetically stores less fat in her waist and more around her hips and thighs may have an easier time getting abs and looking snatched at a higher body fat than, say, someone who has a more straight up and down frame who genetically stores fat in their arms and waist. This is important to understand because not only is comparison the thief of joy, but it's also useless when it comes to fitness. We are all so different, and that's actually a good thing, because part of what makes this fitness journey so fulfilling is the self-discovery and learning about your unique body. I will reiterate, it is okay to want to look a certain way. Where appearance-based goals become a problem is when they're not realistic for your body, or when they become a moving target and it starts to feel like all your hard work and all of your progress is never going to be good enough. That is why I keep hammering on mindset. My goal for you with this routine is to build a foundation of fitness and to find a body composition range where you feel okay even as seasons change and maybe you do fluctuate in weight. So how do you build a foundation of fitness? My approach revolves around general preparedness, which describes building a combination of strength, endurance, flexibility and mobility, coordination, and balance. You will often hear this term used around athletic development or to describe how athletes are training in their off season. And even if you don't consider yourself an athlete, you can admit that they are good at fitness. And so there's probably something that we can learn from them. The most effective way to build strength is with resistance training. And the easiest way to start resistance training is still with weightlifting. I know what you're thinking, but I don't want to get bulky. I thought we were getting toned. I know. Okay, we're going to circle back to this. Bulky is a subjective thing. What is bulky to me might not be bulky to you, and vice versa. But the problem probably isn't weightlifting. For endurance, controversial opinion, you shouldn't start running. If you are newer on your fitness journey, you do not have an established base of strength or endurance, I would recommend starting with something lower impact like incline walking, the stair climber, walk running. Our goal is consistency, and we need a foundation that will keep you injury free. Of course, if you are already running, no issues, as long as you don't go drastically changing your volume. Flexibility and mobility, you don't have to go to hot yoga every week. Of course, if that's your thing, you do you, but probably best that we are making time for this more than once per week. That is why I like taking a bite-sized approach to it and habit stacking it right into your strength training. For coordination, this doesn't just apply to athletes, because there's a huge difference between going through the motions versus training with intention. Something you'll actually hear people speak very positively on when it comes to Pilates is they can be doing the same movement that they've tried before, but now that they're doing it in, let's say, a Pilates class, they're bringing that much more intention to their form. It hits completely different. It can be the tiniest, teeniest little range of motion, and they are burning. You can bring that same intention to whatever style of training you're doing. Now is the time that I want you to master your form. I want you to prioritize quality over quantity of reps, learn proper breathing technique, how to engage your entire core properly, and then bring that newfound awareness to every aspect of your training. Balance is something we'll come back to when we get into the nitty-gritty of arranging and putting together your workout routine, the specific exercises you're doing. But long story short, we can fit that seamlessly into your strength training. So to create your weekly routine, we have to decide on a few things. Training frequency, how many workouts you will be doing per week. Training volume, the number of reps and sets you're doing. Training intensity, how hard you are pushing. And then how we are applying these things in terms of a weekly split, exercise selection, periodization, any specific techniques you want to be using. These are the complex considerations that go into creating a simple workout plan. For training frequency, I love 3 strength workouts per week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, this is the exact split we follow in the Anda app. And the beauty of this is that from a recovery and adaptation perspective, you have that full day of recovery in between, but also from a practical perspective, if plans change, life happens, you have the flexibility to reschedule a workout because you have those days in between, rather than ending up in a situation that I know I used to often find myself in, where you miss a workout, panic because you don't have that flexibility, and then spiral and fall off track for the rest of the week. When it comes to training volume and intensity, these are largely dependent on your fitness level and your specific goals. So I'm going to share what might be a bit of a different perspective on this, but before you can figure out the number of reps and sets you should be doing, you should probably figure out how much time can you regularly commit to training. And before you can figure that out, you should probably establish when will you be regularly training? Because of course you could figure it out as you go. But if that strategy was working, I don't see why you would be watching a video about how to rebrand your entire routine. If you've struggled to maintain consistency with training, probably the easiest way to lock this in is with habit stacking. So tacking it onto an established routine. I am a big fan of the morning routine. I have not always been a morning person, but what I like about training in the mornings is that a lot of the distractions that would often get in the way are just not as present or not as urgent as they may be later in the day, whether you're juggling work, kids, whatever you have going on. Of course, you can also habit stack as part of a lunchtime routine and after work routine. It really comes down to just being aware of your energy, how it naturally ebbs and flows throughout the day, and figuring out when you would consistently have the energy for training. We'll come back to the number of reps and sets you should be doing. Moving over to intensity, or how hard you should feel like you're training, I am going to rapid fire through some studies to back up what I'm saying, but you do not need to be training to failure. That is going to create excessive fatigue, which can negatively impact the quality of your next session and your ability to show up consistently. You also do not need to train to be super sore the next day. While muscle damage can play a role in hypertrophy, it is not a reliable indicator of it. So more soreness does not equal more progress. I'm not saying you should never train to failure or that you'll never be sore, but these are sometimes things. They're not an every session necessity, especially looking at training intensity through the lens of habit stacking, and nothing exists in isolation. We are adding your training to an existing routine. So it is important that we use our energy strategically, and we're budgeting it so that we continue to have energy for all of those other things. So how do you know if you're pushing hard enough? What about progressive overload? I propose, rather than obsessing over and micromanaging and trying to log every weight you ever lift, a good indicator that you are pushing hard enough with your workouts is if you would struggle to do another 1 to 3 reps at the end of your set. If you notice that toward those last few reps, your rep speed is slowing down, maybe you're starting to experience a bit of a breakdown in your coordination, your control, your form, you're using a little assistance from your other muscle groups, but you are not training to the point of absolute failure. You're not training to the point where you can't get the weight out of the bottom of the range. Some people use rate of perceived exertion or the RPE scale to describe this, but as you become more experienced, that feeling will become more intuitive. Now for the application, you are going to follow a full body split. Because you're hitting every muscle, every workout, you're able to get away with that lower training frequency, that 3 workouts per week. Of course, you can do things differently, but as you start separating out muscle groups, if you want to do an upper lower split, or maybe you want to do a leg day and a back day and an arm day and, all kinds of days, while those things can work in theory, I followed a body part split when I first started weightlifting in my late teens. It brings into question, is that something you are going to be able to stick with consistently, or are you going to fall into the cycle of getting busy and skipping the same muscle groups week after week? Periodization is a big scary word that really just means, how are you adjusting your workouts over time in order to keep progressing? The most basic version of this is linear periodization. I think this is what most people think of when they think of progressive overload. So you are increasing the intensity while decreasing the volume of training. Okay, but what if you have goals beyond just lifting heavy? I will be, the first person to say it, weightlifting gets boring. I'm sick of hearing trainers talk down on workout classes, Pilates, trying new things. I've been lifting weights for over 10 years. I got bored a long time ago, but rather than admitting that to myself, I felt guilty and I forced myself to keep going through the same motions of doing the same compound lifts that I didn't really care about getting stronger with. So somewhere along the way, I had an epiphany. I wish I could remember what day it was, but I realized, hey, you can train for goals beyond just lifting heavy. So that is now the lens through which I look at my training. How can I bring that novelty and variety that keeps it exciting while still staying rooted in what works scientifically? Enter undulating periodization, or in plain language, varying the intensity, volume, or style of training you do throughout the week. So let's say on Monday, you could focus on strength. On Wednesday, you could focus on conditioning. On Friday, you could focus on stability. That might be a great place to swap into Pilates because Pilates is still resistance training. So making sure that we're covering all of our bases from that general preparedness, foundation of fitness, we want to make sure we're covering strength. Yes, we're going to be strength training 3 times per week. That's what we've decided. Endurance, I would recommend doing one of those modalities we talked about, whether it is incline walking, stair climber, walk running, biking. Do that on the days in between your strength training. Then you've got your flexibility and mobility. I did say we were going to habit stack that into the strength training. I'd like you to add a 10-minute, whatever is realistic, a 10-minute mobility warm-up before you do your workout. The beauty of this is that it's going to help to prevent injury, get the blood flowing so you are ready for your training, and it ticks that box of working on your flexibility and mobility in a bite-sized way that you can habit stack into your strength training that we already habit stacked into your routine. For coordination, we already discussed this. We are going to be very intentional with our form, prioritizing quality over quantity with our strength training exercises. We are going to focus on proper breathing technique. We are not holding our breath going into 2025. If you want to learn to breathe properly, we do have a program in the Anda app. You can either get it as part of the subscription or just buy it as a one-off. I'll put a link in the description box down below. And then for balance, we're going to work this right into our strength training. So I've created a template you can plug directly into ChatGPT that is going to bridge the gap between the excitement I hope you're feeling and all of what we just discussed. Getting what you want from AI is not just about asking the right questions, but having the right language and prompting at the correct points to make adjustments. So I am going to put a link to this template in the description box down below with all of the prompts, all of the questions, how to adjust to meet your needs, everything that you need. All of it will be down below. But for now, we are going to do an example, put it on screen so you can see how this works for one of your most requested things, which is how to get Pilates results from weightlifting. So our first prompt is designed to create your base routine. We are asking the AI to act as an evidence-based personal trainer and create a weekly workout plan following these parameters. So the training parameters are 3. That is our training frequency by the amount of time you have, which we established when we were thinking about volume and intensity, finding those gaps in your existing routine, full body workouts, because we're following a full body split, using undulating periodization to keep it exciting for the following goals: stability, strength, endurance, and mobility. In the template I've linked for you, I include a whole long list of different goals that you can have it generate for. I just selected these because we're doing the example of Pilates results from weightlifting. Workout should be, you can put in any workout space or equipment considerations here. I put in dumbbell only and suitable for your personal preferences and or health considerations. So just doing this for myself, a woman who does not want to build more muscle, but rather support longevity, metabolism, and hormone health. So the AI is going to take all that. It's going to generate a big, beautiful response for you to review. Now, the beauty of AI is that it has a memory for what it just generated, which means that if you have questions or if you have feedback, you can reference specific sections of it. In the template that I link below, I am going to include some recommended questions, some feedback based on what I often hear from you guys about our training, as well as how to translate that into the right language for the AI to appropriately adjust its response. So as I'm reviewing the response I got, I'm looking at the day 1 workout, and honestly, it's not giving the Pilates energy I wanted. It looks kind of boring. So I'm pushing back against the AI and requesting that it structures this workout more similar to a Pilates flow. I have continued to play around with this a bit based on feedback I often hear from our community or questions I get from you guys. We could be here all day playing with the AI. So I will link that template down below because there are so many ways you can adapt this to meet your needs. But we made great progress today. I mean, we commit to 3 full body workouts per week. We identified gaps in your existing routine for habit stacking. We got clarity on how you should feel during your training. We planned for when your routine inevitably gets boring, how are you going to build in that novelty that keeps things exciting? We even covered the specific example of how to get Pilates results from weightlifting. The last step is putting it into practice, which, as of posting this video, AI is not yet able to replace that real-time instruction, the accountability that comes from human to human connection. And I mean, also, as we established through using the template, it cannot replace the creativity that goes into crafting a Pilates flow or weighted circuit where one exercise flows magically into the next. This is part of why I think workout classes are having such a huge resurgence, because it's part human connection, part instruction, part entertainment. We can argue all day about whether or not that's effective, but the reality is novelty can really help you stay consistent. So if you want support with that final step, download the Anda app. We've been working out in real time. I've been doing every rep of every set with you, cueing your form, providing modifications, guiding you through every movement. I know we covered a lot today. I will link everything in the description box down below. And if you did enjoy this video, if you end up using the templates and or the app, I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear what goals you're working toward. I am always nosy. Otherwise though, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in our next episode of this series.